Good morning. I thought I'd give you a little walk around my first aquaponics system, which is completely solar powered. I suppose we should start at the beginning. This is where the water leaves, basically my fish pond, which is also the sump, and goes up via a 48 watt 12 volt pump and through a lift system into basically a radial flow bucket. Use a separation just behind the lattice there. I've got a takeoff valve at the bottom to remove any solids which build up, and they do slowly. Then a gravity feed along the white 25mm conduit along the back, and that goes into the top section of my first set of grow media, which only gently aerates it. Every pot along here has had plants in it for nearly 12 months now, on and off, and this is a new broad bean. I've had many beans in there throughout, but changed them to basils and marigolds, some tomatoes which did very well, but their roots became a bit of a problem. They started to clog the pipe, so I had to move them into other areas. So basically full gravity fed along here, down and along, so it pools in the bottom section, but each bottom section has an outlet into a normal set of gravel media. There's 6 in a row. The first 4 are constant flow, and the last 2 I've experimented on changing them from constant flow to ones that flood and drain, basically, using various types of plants. These work quite nicely for the plants that don't like their roots wet all the time. I found that some of the plants just don't do well in constant flow. I've got quite a few volunteers that have come up as well. Ones I've tried and they've just taken. And this lovely oregano, I thought they liked it a bit drier, but nope, it loves the constant flow. Parsley galore. Calendula I can't get rid of, but it does a good job of keeping some of the bugs down. Lots of kale, some spring onions that think they're big onions now. I've used this to grow some very nice crops of coriander. There's a bit of wormwood in here temporarily. I've just stuck it in there so it can get some roots on it, so I can move it around the chooks so they can get wormed. Lots of kales, some lovely Russian kale. Beetroot, which I normally just use for the leaves. Some self-seeded lettuce. The lettuce that was here went to flower, and these are its offspring. And here's some more mature coriander, and I'll get some nice, I think let's get on to 5th generation seed from these lot now. I did have some sweet potato in here as well. They were down in this bed, and I allowed them to overflow into these beds down here. They didn't do that well in here, but I had a good couple of kilos of sweet potato, which was surprising. I didn't know how well they're doing in an aquaponics system. Their taste was okay, Okay, they made a really nice soup, but they were quite small, and no more than about 100 grams each, which is quite small. So, right, and as these flow through on these systems, I've also experimented with deep water culture, which is a floating raft, which is, again, at the moment has got some coriander in it. They've done quite nicely. They've only been in a few weeks and they're starting to root up now, and that just comes from the overflow and straight down into my main flow out. But that's also fed from each of the aquaponic half barrels. Well, it's not many plants in here at the moment, but there has been basil all the way along here up until winter, and it's second or fifth day of spring now here in South Australia. Right, and that basically flows out completely behind my barbecue and along this pipe, which I just used a bit of split bamboo to cover some 32mm conduit, and that goes back into the fish pond as an aeration. Right, let's go and have a look at the power for this system. Up on top of the garden area there's 140 watts of solar panels, and they come in via an isolating switch, which is the white block up there, and a charge controller. I also run some overnight lighting for a few hours just to make the area look nice. Come down and into two 100 amp hour batteries in parallel. So you've got 200 amp hours available. They've also got not only a normal temporary isolator, but a low voltage cutoff, which monitors the voltage of the batteries and turns it off when the system gets too low. I think it's set to around about 10.5 volts. Then everything gets cut off until the panels recharge it. Before I put that on, I didn't realise that I could exhaust my batteries and have dead batteries, which, being they're not cheap, they're rather irritating. I've got two 100 amp hours simply because I also have a solar powered and solar heated spa running off this as well, which is nice. But the lights also run lighting behind Buddha and in the two Chinese lanterns overnight, just for a few hours. And I've designed some electronic candle flickers in there which look quite nice. There's also LED lighting on the pond as well. So overall it's worked out really nicely and is completely autonomous. Don't need any mains, it's all good. I've had some issues with water ingress into the control systems, which has drained the batteries a bit too much, so I've had to keep my eye on that. But the fish are very happy, and there's a few goldies in there, as you can see, and they've gotten a good size, and they were fingerlings a year ago, and some good ones in there now, and they like their food, like their oxygen. Right. I'll leave it at that, and any questions, suggestions, please leave them in the comment box below. Thank you very much.